Hey, so the shirt, how much the shirt cost?
This is Ralph Lauren's shirt, $98.50 original retail price, $12 off the rack. It's my size, 16 neck, 34, 35. Beautiful, Colin. Beautiful.
Between the gray in your beard and that shirt, you look cinematic. You look very good today. So
Thank you.
I've made the argument the Lakers are not a true number one seed because the Clippers had Paul George's injury and the Blazers had the Nurkic injury, and that this is not a typical Western Conference number one. Everybody was in flux. OKC was a total rebuild. Harden, Westbrook got jammed together. That what we're seeing in the bubble is a truer Western Conference. Everybody's got their issues solved, but the Lakers got to be a number one seed through really a bumpy Western Conference. It's not as good as we think.
I agree. It's not as advertised. I know LeBron could beat his chest and say that people thought he couldn't win out West or whatever, but definitely, if you look at just the Clippers, Colin, when they were totally together and full squad, I think they were like 15-1. They weren't together all year. And yet they still were only 5 games behind the Lakers and had won 2 of the first 3 meetings against the Lakers, even without a full squad. So I'm with you. I think the Lakers, there's a chance that they could be upset by somebody. They're top heavy. But when you look at the bench and look at the rest of the players, you can't feel that good about the Lakers. You really can't.
No, they don't defend the three, and frankly, they generally don't shoot it particularly well. It's interesting about the Portland Trailblazers get mentioned. I was critical of Melo his entire career, but I will say this: he is a perfect fit. What do you make of Melo's resurgence and Portland's opportunity to beat the Lakers? What's the key?
Well, I mean, Melo has played well there, and he probably should have been in the league before had he been able to accept a different role. A lot of players, Colin, fall out of favor because they were the man, they want to stay the man, and they can't understand when people are looking at them to do different things. So I think that's where Carmelo fell into his issue. And now that he's gotten an opportunity back, he's played for them. So good for Carmelo. Could they upset the Lakers? Sure, they could. I'm still kind of, bothered by last year. If you remember, the Western Conference Finals were not a pretty sight.
Yeah.
They laid an egg after playing pretty well. So I'm not so sure that they will be that team. But can they? Sure they could.
I saw Jay Glazer, NFL Shift. Jay Glazer said this in his mailbag for The Athletic this week. He said he was talking about Jordan Love being drafted by the Packers. He says, I don't get the move. The only thing I can see is Aaron's worn on the Packers. They're looking to their future. They went up and got Jordan Love. They did nothing to upgrade. It's almost like they're setting up Aaron Rodgers to fail. Sometimes you just get fatigued with somebody, and I think Green Bay might have Aaron Rodgers fatigue. You buy it?
I think if that's the case, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. When you put that guy, and you can talk about the numbers all you want. Colin, go Google it. He has the best quarterback rating of any quarterback who's played in the National Football League. He has the best touchdown to interception ratio of any quarterback that played in the NFL, and it's not even close. And when you look at that team and what they have been able to do without making big moves, ask Matthew Stafford if he would have liked to have won an NFC North Division title, because he hasn't in over a decade with Aaron Rodgers in the way. Ask Minnesota, ask Chicago if they would take Aaron Rodgers. The whole notion that he's the problem. Go look at their playoff. You want to look at their playoff record and see that 4 or 5 of their playoff losses during the Aaron Rodgers era came where the defense gave up 40 or more points. Do you remember the onside kick in Seattle where the tight end fumbled the onside kick? That was another trip to the Super Bowl. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Is that Aaron Rodgers' fault? I mean, I do not understand. They asked him to be different last year, right? Step back. They wanted to run the football more. He did it. They went 13-3. They went to the NFC Championship game. and the defense couldn't stop anybody. I just don't understand. What are we talking about?
When you get in that blue suit, your anger really pops. Okay. I've never said this before. I think Baltimore has a chance to go 16-0 because they're two things. They're stacked and they're ticked off. They were humiliated in the playoffs. Lamar still has his critics. They're 0-2 against Mahomes. Everybody says they can't play from behind. This is the first time I ever remember thinking, that's a 16-0 football team. I looked at their schedule. They don't travel west. Your thoughts?
I love the Ravens. I don't know about 16-0. Could it be 15-1 or 14-2 or something like that? Absolutely. They are the team to beat, Colin, in the AFC. Not the the Chiefs. I'm telling you, it's the Ravens. Look, they're loaded. And there's a reason that the players pick Lamar Jackson as the number one player in the NFL. Look at the season he had, and they haven't figured him out. I'll get it. The playoffs cover up a lot of stuff. Last year, everybody's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to win. Go back and look at Patrick Mahomes' year. He went from 50 touchdowns to 26. Don't tell me he was injured because Drew Brees played less games than him and had more touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes also didn't lead in any of the big offensive categories for an NFL quarterback last year. Do you know that? He didn't lead in one of them. And I think Lamar, because they went out early in the playoffs, everybody just poo-poos them and acts like they're not good. That team beat 5 teams last year by 21 or more. They won 12 straight. They beat playoff teams up the wazoo. That team is loaded. Harbaugh's done a great job. I'm picking the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl from the AFC.
But any more shopping today for you? As you're always looking for a deal, any more shopping?
No, Tuesday's the big shopping day. That's when they usually bring in the new stuff. You got to go through the racks. Colin, you got to be patient. You got to go through the racks, look for your size. Don't just buy anything. It's got to be your size.
I've never met a guy like Rob Parker. I'm not joking. He lives on $78 and peanut brittle. That is his budget for the month. It's unbelievable. My friend, it's great to see you. He's got his podcast on my network, Inside the Parker. He's a Hall of Fame baseball guy. The Yankees look like the best team in the world. Not a surprise. Braves, Dodgers. And credit goes to the owner, the GM, the coach, whoever's. San Francisco's loaded. Very few flaws. Kansas City's stacked. Baltimore. Interesting, Baltimore, Hollywood Brown, a speedy wide receiver, gained 23 pounds of muscle during this offseason. Remember last year how Lamar Jackson completely transformed his body? Now, of the 3 great teams, I am a believer that tough childhood equals better adulthood. I'll give you a fascinating study. They did a study on 300 millionaires in Great Britain to find out how they think. And they looked at their childhood, they looked at their communication skills, their flaws and weaknesses. And what the study discovered is that 40% of the millionaires, not 40 of 300, almost half of them were dyslexic. Why? Why would that be? Now think about that if you're driving and listening to me on radio. The hell would that be? Because dyslexic kids are often humiliated. Dyslexic kids feel ostracized. Dyslexic kids, it's never easy. Nothing. Reading a menu can be humiliating. It's hard. But that metal, and they also found that dyslexic kids are more strategic. Realizing they struggle with reading, they tend to hop ahead of other kids. Time alone, work ethic, strategic ideas. And how does that tie to Baltimore? Because of the 3 great teams in the league, it's actually been fairly easy for Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes learns from Alex Smith. Next year, it's the AFC Championship. Next year, they win the Super Bowl. That's pretty quick. Didn't work that quick for Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. Then there's San Francisco. First year, Jimmy Garoppolo and Kyle Shanahan have a year together. They roll the good teams. They humiliate Green Bay twice. and they end up going to the Super Bowl. But it's been different from Baltimore. Now you think to yourself, Colin, come on, Lamar is the MVP. No. Of the three great rosters